Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Socially Responsible Podcast, Living from the Inside Out. I'm your host, Bridget Blythe. I started this podcast as a way to help me explore who I am beyond labels, titles, and roles. And that's something that still very much interests me, not just about myself, but about the world around me, about the people that I know and the people who I don't know, but who I see and maybe project a judgment onto or have a reflection back to me that makes me question me based on who I believe them to be. That's a lot, right? To think about how often we put our thoughts and beliefs on other people without them even knowing. And then we carry that around with us. It's like a very heavy, heavy mental load when you pause to reflect on the amount of space that can be taken up inside our minds or wherever it is that the thinking happens. Taking the time to breathe deeply into your belly throughout the day is, I'm finding, one of the best ways to reconnect with right now. None of that time travel stuff where your body flashes you back to something that's happened in the past or projects you into the future. Had that experience this morning. Standing in the kitchen, the sun's rising. My husband's there making lunches for the kids. My son's sleeping upstairs. The dog is laying in his bed. My daughter's eating her breakfast. It's quiet. And I start crying and I say out loud, I do not know what I'm feeling right now. And not only did I let that be okay, but the two humans that were there in the room with me, they let that be okay, at least outwardly. There was no what's wrong with you, or you have nothing to be sad about, or why are you crying? Or it was a modeling moment for our daughter, because it's so often that when I do feel overwhelmed, I might say I feel overwhelmed, and then I start listing all these reasons why. And digging deeper, the why is not nearly as, we'll use the word important. The why isn't nearly as important as the being with. In fact, the why is almost irrelevant for the purposes of this conversation. It's when you feel a feeling, it's, and I'm not talking about like, oh, I got a paper cut, I feel that, or oh, a bee stung me, ouch, that hurts. I'm talking about emotional feelings, which of course spark sensations felt inside the body. And when we are noticing what we're feeling, when we're tuning into the felt sensations that we're experiencing in a moment of, we'll call it overwhelm. It's so human to desire to make meaning of it. What does this mean about me? Who made me feel this way? Did I do this to myself? Why does God hate me? Whatever the verbal vomit, the internal narrative is, however it manifests, far less important than just being with it. And that's what I learned this morning. And as I cried, I said, well, my husband said, he said, what do you, or he said, I think he said, how can I help you right now? And typically that question, which is so seemingly innocuous, would trigger me, because I would say, oh, that puts it on me. I don't know what help I need. I just feel crappy and I want to lash out about it. Not on this day. On this day, I said, I feel off. I don't feel good. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know why I'm feeling it. I let myself feel it and express it. And then in response to the question, how can I help? Because really there's nothing to be fixed so often when we have a feeling of overwhelm. The fix is to accept what is and not struggle with it. And so how can you help? I really just need a hug. And this is also something that my husband will frequently offer to me and I will reject, even though I'll later say, I just want to be held. Well, sometimes we block ourselves from that which we really desire for whatever reason. And so he's like, okay, I'll hold you. And so I put my head there, held me, and then I said, is it okay if I cry? He said, sure. Cried, and a few minutes passed, and I felt better because our heartbeat synced up and our breathing synced. And I came back to the present moment, the now, which is all we ever really have. Now, 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 now. Can't touch the past, it goes by too fast. How can you invite in more awareness of thoughts, feelings, and not making meaning of it? How can you experience life? Can you experience life noticing more of your own mind clutter, your own judgment, and not hold it as your own? Because when I use those words, it makes it seem like I'm tying ownership of it to you. Or when I say your own, it's like it doesn't belong to you. You notice it, it's not yours. And there's so much of the stuff that we feel that comes from just the way the world is, that comes from epigenetics and generational trauma. Breathe deep, release, get curious. How can you change your patterns? Can you change your patterns? Can you be compassionate with yourself as you go through the process? I think you can.